Hello, welcome. What we're going to do today is we are going to be making a pasta dish that's kind of like a meat sauce with ziti, mozzarella cheese. I'm going to use ground turkey in it instead of beef for two reasons. First of all, it's cheaper. Second of all, it's healthier for you. So I'll just show you what we're going to use, and we're going to cook it all in a pressure cooker. And once we get it in the pressure cooker and brought up to temperature, it's going to be ready in about 8 minutes. So it's a nice one-pot meal, and it feeds my family of 6. So I'll show you what we got. First thing, we got a pound of ground turkey. We got garlic, just any type of garlic will do because we're looking for inexpensive here. Some olive oil, a bag of mozzarella cheese, some celery, carrot, an onion, tomato puree. I like to spice it up with I like to throw some mushrooms in there, so I get a can of mushrooms. You don't have to. Mushrooms are optional. It's yours. I have some wine that I use to deglaze the bottom of the pot afterwards. You could also use like a chicken stock or a beef stock or just plain water. Doesn't matter. I just have this laying around, so I'm just going to use a little of that. Salt, pepper, ziti. I got a 1/4 cup of sugar. So we're going to get started. The first thing we're going to do is you have to thinly mince up the celery, the carrots, and the onion. And what I use to do that is I have this little food processor here, this little food chopper. It's made by Cuisinart, this one. I love it to death. My wife and I got it when we got married. I've had it now 15 years, so it's still ticking. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my carrot and I'm going to peel it. And I have my lovely assistant Abby here with me today. She's going to help me with some of the stuff. Thank you, assistant. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the tip off here, cut the back part off here, and get rid of that. Then I'm just going to cut this into small pieces, small little wheels. So essentially what we're doing is we're making a homemade sauce when you look at it. Open up my food processor. My lovely assistant is going to throw those in there. Let's plug it in, and then I'm going to pulse it on high. Should be pretty good now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my carrots out. You can see now it's all nice and in there. And a lot of it's going to stick to the side, so I use my handy dandy spatula, or whatever this is called, not spatula. Now I'm done with that. Got my carrot in there. Then the next thing I'm going to do is put that aside. I'm going to do the same thing with my celery. I'm going to cut the leafy part off, like so. You can hear my cat in the background. He knows we're cooking food. He's starting to get hungry. Assistant, thank you. I'm going to cut these two pieces off the top. I don't like them. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to cut it small. Kind of chop it up. Now, if you're really gifted with a knife, and you can mince it really fine all by yourself without using a food processor, or if you don't have one, that's fine too. You just chop it real good. I just like to make it like this, because then with my children who are picky with vegetables, they don't even know that they're in there. Okay. That's good. And a couple seconds here. Voila. It's all finally chopped and pureed. So I'm going to take that now. And I'm just going to put it here. Just going to put it here with my celery. So now I got my celery. This, what I'm going to do is, I'm pretty much done with you for a second. I'm going to take my minced garlic. You can use fresh garlic, use a couple cloves. I find it's easier just to have this on hand. I'm going to take myself maybe like 2 tablespoons. I like a little bit more garlic, so I'll make it say 4. But yeah, I recommend 2 if you only like a little bit of garlic. I used 4 because I want a little bit of extra pizzazz in there. And let's kind of mix it together. Now you don't have to mix it all together. That's just something I like to do. So when it goes in the pot later, everything is good. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to slice and dice. Just going to slice my onion. I'm going to peel my onion. Slice my onion. Thank the assistant. How do you? This is very easy, very simple. Nothing hard so far, right? Didn't think so. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Okay. Same thing with you. Wow, you're juicy. I feel this in my eyes right away. And this is just a medium onion. You can go with large onion. Doesn't matter. And I'm just like I did with the vegetables, just slicing it up nice.
This really stings your eyes.
It does. And I'm going to take you and I'll throw you in there. The reason I did the onion last, because I didn't want it in my eyes so long. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is we're going to pulse it. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Woo! So next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to just move the camera over a touch here, because now we're going to be going over to the pressure cooker. I have a Favor Duo. I picked this guy up on eBay. If you don't have a pressure cooker, what you want to do is just want to make sure that this is intact and this is good. This is nice. This is the seal on the inside that keeps the pressure in. And I really like this. It's easy and it's safe. What you've heard about your grandma's pressure cooker blowing up in the kitchen and all that nonsense, that doesn't really happen anymore. So, because there's safety that they didn't have in the one with the little weight on the top that wiggled around. So, what we're going to do now is I'm just going to put a little bit of olive oil in here. Alright. And, pardon me while I disconnect my camera, my assistant's going to turn it on. Alright, now we got our heat. I'm going to let this heat up a second. Sorry about my camera work. And then, the first thing we're going to do is let that heat up. It's getting there. Now you don't really need much. I'm probably going to add a little bit of olive oil as we go. So I'm going to put in my onions. They're in there. I'm just going to let that cook down. I'll let that cook for a minute. So, just to kind of review so far while that's cooking, we took our celery and whoa, it's so blurry, so blurry. There it is. Sorry about that, folks. We took it. This is our celery, our garlic, and our carrots. Just got this cooking away here. So we're going to cook this up for a couple minutes until it's translucent. So this will be a couple minutes, so I'm going to pause the video and you can come right back when we're at our next step. Okay, so we're back now. We have our onions are starting to get translucent in there. And I opened up and drained my can of mushrooms, but I'm going to put this in a couple minutes because they're already kind of soft because they're from the can. Now you can use fresh ones if you want. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pour this in. Use the spoon, scrape it on it. And get that all in there. As much goodness as possible. Very good. Cool. And now we're going to cook this a little bit. Now, don't be bashful. I'm going to throw a little bit more oil in there. And we're going to do the same thing. Now we got in here, we got our garlic. We got our garlic, our carrots, our celery is all in here. I'm just cooking this down and see, and if you get like here, say you got a big piece that made it through, that's fine because it's all gonna cook down. Just gonna let that cook a second. And while it's doing that, like Emerald says, you know, my vegetables don't come seasoned, so I'm just gonna throw in a little bit of salt in here. Now, if you're in a low sodium diet or whatnot, don't throw in any salt. You know, makes sense. Pepper, you can throw any type of seasonings you want in here. And do a little mix up. If you can smell it, it smells fantastic. As you can see, when you're doing this, it's just a one-pot meal to cook everything, which is nice. And we're making our own homemade sauce. Everything is fresh. And my daughter's helping me. So this is kind of a thing where, as long as it's supervised, you know, get the kids involved in cooking. Let them realize there's life outside of Burger King and McDonald's, Wendy's. Even though the stuff tastes good, it's not exactly the healthiest thing. I got that initially cooking for a minute or so. I'm going to add in my can of mushrooms. This is an 8-ounce can. That's because I like mushrooms in my sauce. And these are all, it's all going to cook down. It looks like a lot, but mushrooms, as you know or don't know, they're full of liquid, so they will really shrink down quite a bit. So we let that cook.
Yum.
Yep. And gonna let this cook for a minute, and then we'll be back in a second once this is ready for the next step. Okay, we're back. We're back, and you can see everything is cooked down nice. Everything is nice and soft, translucent. So the next step that we're going to do is I'm going to add just a little bit more oil in here. And adding all the extra oil is completely optional. I don't feel you really need to do it, but I do it because now I got my pound. You can use a half pound, you can use a pound of, this is turkey, ground up turkey. And make sure that there's no pad in there. And just drop it right in. Now, I'm going to take it, and now we're going to cook it up. So if you've ever made a sloppy joe, so now we're going to cook this down. And all the juices and everything will stay inside here. And get everything all mixed up nice. Make it all happy. And we're going to brown it. We're going to cook it now till you know, the turkey is done and ready. All brown nice. That's why I threw in the extra oil, because I didn't want it to stick at the bottom. But there probably is enough in already to cook it. So this is going to take a couple minutes. You get the picture right now. So when we come back, we're going to deglaze the pan with some wine. We're going to add in our pasta and our tomato puree. And we're going to get the party started with the pressure cooker. So this is just all the prepping. So we will see you in a couple minutes, maybe about 5 or 10 minutes. So how long it takes to cook down. Okay, so this has been cooking now. Cooked a little bit faster than I thought. So you always want to make sure your meat is cooked thoroughly. So if you take a look now, the meat is nice and brown. The ground turkey is all, and any of the chunks I broke up. There's no pink or anything left. So we're in a good spot. So now we want to do something called deglazing the pan. At the bottom, any of the stuff that might be stuck to the bottom of the pan here, this is what we do. This is where you would take your chicken broth, your chicken stock, take a bouillon cube with some water, or, you know, I like to do the wine. You put a swig of wine in there. Then with that, we just take and we kind of just mix it around. And that extra liquid in there kind of helps clean up everything at the bottom. And it smells amazing. I'm using a white Zinfandel. If you're gonna, let me just throw just a splash more. If you're gonna be having like a red wine with dinner or white wine with dinner, I would recommend popping that bottle open and throwing a swig of wine into here. This way the food is going to perfectly match your wine. Just a little tip. So now just let it cook for a second, a minute or so. I want the wine to cook off, and you can smell it cooking off. My assistant's going to fall off her stool. Just kidding. It's a nice, wonderful smell. So, yes, it smells nice. So the alcohol and everything is all cooked off now. So what we're going to do, our next thing is, now we're going to add in our, I just did a little over 2 cups. It's not the entire can. It leaves about this much left in the can. So if you happen to say, it's just a little bit left, what I did last time is I just threw the whole can in, and it ended up being a little thin, and I had to do a couple things. So we'll see if that happens. It's always good to have what we like to call insurance around, in case it's a little bit thin. Your insurance is going to be cornstarch and tomato paste. Those are 2 things they use in restaurants in case their sauce comes out a little bit thin. So it's not like you're doing anything that wouldn't be done in a restaurant. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 1/4 cup of sugar. I'm going to throw that in there. And the reason I put the sugar in now is because I didn't want it to be in with the frying, because sugar can burn. So when you get that in, you just want to give it a good mix up. If you take a look, it's starting to look like a sloppy joe now. And one of the things I also am going to put in there is, I don't want to just add in a little plain salt. I said it before, I'm a garlic guy, so I'm going to throw in a little garlic salt. Add a little bit of saltiness in there. And I don't know, what was that, about maybe tablespoon and a half if you want to be exact and measure it, but that's not how Grandma does it. That's not how I do it. So, alright, so now I got it mixed together here. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to take I got my box of ziti. You can use ziti, you can use any sort of like tubular noodle. The only things you shouldn't use are string noodles, such as linguine, spaghetti, thin spaghetti, angel hair, because when the contents come under pressure, you're going to end up with a mess. See, and all I did is take that, put it in there,
because I still got everything in there. I'm going to give it a little bit of a mix, right? And what we need to make sure, and I say it's raw, which is cool because all the flavor is going to infuse into the noodle. So the noodles are going to be packed with flavor and goodness as well. So now what we need to do is we need to fill it with water. We need to put enough water in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in, like, I use a quart container. So this is 1 quart. We want enough just to cover the noodles. So there's 1 quart. And this is my 2nd quart. Let's see here. You want to give it a good mix. Get everything together. Alright, so, and then you kind of press it down a little bit to make sure. So we're covered the noodles. Alright, the noodles are going to absorb a lot of that liquid and make a thicker sauce. And if not, we do have the insurance. So what we do now is we want to set our, sorry about the squeaking. We want to set our pressure cooker up. It's going to be on low pressure, so if you have a Fagor, it's number 1. Or number 2 is the high pressure, so we're doing low pressure. And on here there's, if you can see it on the video, there's a little marker, and then on the handle here there's another line. So we're going to take the lines, we line them up, then we close it, and we slide it up here to lock it. And this here is one of the safety valves. Right now there's no pressure in there. We're going to leave it on high. We're going to leave the flame on high. When in a couple minutes this is going to pop up. When this pops up, pressure is going to start to build inside. When we start to see the steam come out the front here, we're going to take the temperature, we're going to put it on low, and from there we are going to let it cook. Once we turn it to low, we're going to set it for probably about 8 minutes. That's what I like to do, 6 to 8 minutes. So I will be back once it's at pressure. Okay, welcome back. It's been a minute or two. If you see, my pressure valve has popped up and it is now at pressure. I don't know if you can see or hear the steam coming out of there at all, but the pressure is in there. There we go, see it? So now what we want to do is turn it to like medium low, like that. See, it's still coming out nice. Now I'm going to set it for 8 minutes and we're going to let it go. So we'll be back in 8 minutes and I'm going to depressurize it, open it up, and move to the next step. See you in a couple minutes. Alright, well, my buzzer's up, the time is up. So what I'm going to do now is turn the gas off, and you can see it's continuing to cook still because the pressure is still in there. So what I'm going to need to do is, there's a couple different things with pressure cookers. You can do a natural release, which is you just let it sit. You can use like a steam valve and you can undo it that way, or you can do what's called the quick release, and that is you just run it under cold water. You put the whole pot, run it under cold water, and the little guy here will go down, the pressure will be gone. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to hand my camera to my assistant, and I'll be back in a second once I release it. Alright, so I just did the quick release. Still see some of the water. My button has gone down. There's no pressure left in there. So I'm going to undo the safety latch. You put it this way, and when you open it, always open it up away from you. So that any steam or whatnot does not get you. So now, when we take a look in here, we have our sauce, and it ended up being a little bit thin, which is fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to thicken it up. We're going to thicken it up with just a touch of tomato paste, which I was saying before, it does happen because it's really hard to judge. If you go too light on the water, what will happen is you can end up with a scorched, burned mess. So it's always easy to thicken it afterwards. So I'm just going to take my tomato paste. It's also going to add a whole bunch more flavor. And I'm going to start here.
It looks disgusting, but it makes it taste good.
Yeah, tomato paste. These are restaurant tricks that they use in their restaurants. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to mix it in. It's going to help thicken it. Back it up a little bit. I don't want it to. See, it's getting a little bit thicker now. Quite a bit thicker now. Alright. Gonna mix it for a second. And you'll see if this is to your liking. If you like a thicker sauce, which I like a little bit of a thicker sauce. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the rest of my can of tomato paste. And as my assistant has just pointed out to me, it's only 50 cents for a can, so we're still staying in a budget. We're looking at, you know, under $10 to feed a family of 6, and to me, that's a pretty good deal. So it is pretty good. I think it's pretty good. I don't know. What do you think, assistant? Should we go a little thicker?
Just a little.
Just a little. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to use, if you don't have this in the kitchen, you should get some just in case. This is good for a million different things, making sauces and whatnot. So I'm just going to take a little bit, not much, just a little bit of cornstarch. It is a little messy. So this is two teaspoons. I'm going to mix it here, and then I'm going to just mix it down in, and cornstarch magically makes things thicker. Once again, this is another thing restaurants use, and look at that. Within seconds, look how much thicker that is. Look how much thicker that became. That was like really watery, and now it's nice and thick for just 2. So I'm actually going to do it just a little bit more. So I'm going to bump it up to maybe about half. So we use probably about 3 teaspoons in total here. And it's tasteless. It doesn't change the flavor. It doesn't change anything. And look, now it's nice and thick within seconds.
And since you have cheese, the kids won't notice.
Yeah. There's no light in there. It's nice and thick. Just for fun, I am going to try a noodle real quick. That's so good. It tastes so good. Yes, it does actually taste better than last time. We're getting better. But this is good. My kids loved it, and they're the pickiest eaters on the planet. So, what we're going to do next is optional. Now, you can just serve this as it is. Take everybody's bowl, load it up, enjoy. It's a nice meat sauce. But I like to take it a step further. Now, we're going to make it fancy. So you can keep it as a one-pot meal, or you can do what I'm about to do.
Which makes it even tastier. So what are you going to do?
What am I going to do? Everybody's wondering, what am I going to do? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this and pour about half into a pot, into a baking pan. We got half of it in there. I'm going to then take some butter. Going back to a book I read, I forget who wrote it, called Sugar, Salt, and Fat. It's an awesome book. It's about the food industry and how they manipulate the flavors, and if people like it or not, is by controlling the levels of sugar, salt, and fat. And so as you saw, we've added sugar, we added salt. We're just going to throw a couple pats of butter throughout here. Doesn't butter make everything better? Yeah, it does. Now you may think this is gross or whatever. This is optional, but I found that this adds a little something extra to it. Hard to describe.
I thought it was gross too, but it ended up being good.
It ended up being delicious. See, one of my picky eaters. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just like a handful of the cheese. I'm going to sprinkle it down on here. Right.
Mozzarella cheese.
This is just part skim, mozzarella cheese. But you take a look, now we got a little bit of cheese in there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the rest of my pasta. I'm going to put that there. As you can see, this turned into a gigantic meal. All right, this is enough to feed a whole bunch of people. Like I said, I have 6 that I feed. So this is good. Now I'm going to once again take pats of butter. Definitely. This is not a healthy dish, but it's a delicious dish.
That's good to have once in a while.
Yes, butter is okay once in a while. And we're just taking the pats of butter and sprinkle them around a couple different spots.
Then we add the rest of the mozzarella cheese.
Yes! Now we're going to put the rest of our cheese on here. Now you can use 2 bags or whatnot, but again, this is budget conscious. So we're doing 1.
Still isn't enough. You don't want to overpower the whole dish.
That's true. You don't want to make it a cheesy mess. I'm going to spread it out nice. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on my broiler. I'm going to put on the broiler. I'm going to make sure I have my top here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to wait a second for the broiler to turn on. That would help. And then we're going to put it right in the oven.
But then there are layers of cheese.
There's layers of cheese. There's a little bit of butter sprinkled in there. And you're going to totally enjoy it. Now at this point you can throw a little basil on top. You could throw a little oregano on top.
Anything you want.
Anything you want to throw on top here. And we are going to now take it, now that my broiler is on, you can see the flames. We're going to take it, we're going to put it directly underneath here, and it's going to sit here maybe 2-3 minutes. What we're looking for is that the cheese is going to turn like a little bit brown, a little bit bubbly, and we'll be back in a moment to show you. All right, so 3 minutes wasn't enough, so you can do up to 5. So I just took a peek here, and we have exactly what I'm looking for. 4 minutes. Take a look. You see how it's got a little bit of the crust on here. This is what you would get in a restaurant when they put it under their salamander here. And you can take a look. It's all the butter is melted. Everything is great and it's good stuff.
And it's not too
So what you're
burnt.
going to do is you're going to let it sit 3 to 5 minutes. And after that, serve it up. Enjoy it with some garlic bread. Have a glass of your favorite wine or adult beverage or whatever you're drinking. And that's it. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy. If you make it or if you have any questions, please leave comments below. Check out some of my other videos where I use my smoker. I have an indoor smoker, outdoor smoker. I make a lot of good food, so check out my other videos. Thanks. Remember to subscribe so you'll see when I post any other videos. And if you want more pressure cooker videos or something you want to see made in the pressure cooker, let me know. Thanks.